Oh, no.
Oh, is it on Twitter? That's all that matters, right?
Yeah. Well, let's
The
see.
importance of being Twitter.
Is on
Well,
Twitter.
we don't want to crash Twitter though, please.
We are on Twitter. Okay, so we're streaming live to Twitter.
I can confirm we're on the Facebook.
We're on the Facebook. Are we on the LinkedIn, Brent?
Not so far.
Oh, I don't know. I haven't seen anything.
Okay. We may or may not be on the LinkedIn.
I just got a Twitter notification. Yeah, we're live on Twitter.
Yeah, I confirm that. And
Did you get that from Elon? Did he send it specifically or?
Personally,
He kisses my ass these days. I mean, he just
That's a little bit too much information there, Keith. So
sounds like my two dogs' behavior.
I don't think. LinkedIn will-
hey, I have a question. Can you post this
Oh.
live on the Substack chats? I
Yeah.
wonder.
Yeah, but not with the video stream, but you can post it in notes with the link. And anyone who clicks on the link, I would recommend the Twitter link, but any link that's live, they'll be able to click on it and see it.
okay,
All right. Well, I can confirm everything. I haven't seen LinkedIn though. Has anyone seen LinkedIn?
Yeah, you start the show.
Yeah. Okay. All right, mute is off. And we're gonna go in 3, 2, 1, and
Hi, Steve Gillmor here with a sore throat.
Yeah.
Welcome from the state of framework is Dennis Pombriant.
Greetings, everyone. It's so wonderful to be here on this early June day, to be with you and to speak about all of the wonderful and interesting issues of the day. Like, well, we can't talk about the debt ceiling anymore. I don't know.
maybe.
It's gone,
Oh,
I think there's a question or two lingering.
perhaps.
Or an
Perhaps.
observation or two.
Okay, well,
and next up,
Welcome from London, Frank Radis.
Hello, Steve, Tina, Keith, Leary, and Dennis. Hola.
and we should say Sir Frank.
Thank you. Yeah. No, not yet. Not yet.
Are you gonna get that OBE thing after your name or?
Yeah, I'm working on that. I got people working on that. My people are working.
citizenship, didn't you?
By the way, speaking of that, I ran into Jimmy Page on the street yesterday. It was like wacky.
Is
He's
he
like-
okay? I mean, did you
He-
hurt him or?
No, he is way skinnier than I thought he was in person. I'd never seen him before in person other than on stage. He's like not a big guy and he's like skinny. He's not like
Wow.
that other Gillmor. Yeah, the guitar player from Pink Floyd.
Oh, and don't you remember he used to hang out at the Limelight? You didn't.
Oh, I love that. I love that place. Got in so much trouble there. Getting shit faced in a church, man. That was the 80s. And I guess in the 90s too, I guess.
That's my
It
what's
was
that guy's
pretty
name?
bad in the 90s.
Dire Straits. What's his name?
Mark
Knopfler.
Knopfler.
So I'm standing in the pit or whatever it is above the cloisters in the Limelight, and I'm talking to somebody I don't remember, and there's a guy to my left, and I say to my friend, "Oh, there's the winner of the Mark Knopfler lookalike contest." And Mark Knopfler turns around and says, "I am Mark Knopfler, you asshole."
Oh man, he should have been so much cooler than that.
No, I thought he put me right where I belonged.
Okay, all right.
Assholed him.
Wait,
And-
is
Super-
that the Limelight story?
Yeah.
Oh, there's more of those.
I ran into Gary Busey.
I like bathroom stories.
Gary Busey was a real treat in Limelight to me. He was not very nice.
What is this? The name drop edition of the Gillmor Gang or something?
What isn't? It's always a name drop edition.
I ran into Vanilla Ice a few years ago. You know?
Really? Was he saying Ice Baby?
He builds, he builds houses now.
Yeah, he has one of those shows, reality TV shows or something.
Oh,
The thing about the gang is we've all hung out with super famous people. In my case, it's Ray Davis from the Kinks, and Mick Jagger once.
Did you go dancing with him, by the way?
He was managing 10cc, and I booked 10cc in my college, and he and I sat on the balcony overlooking the stage drinking Newcastle Brown together.
Wow.
They were a great band. I'm not in love. Woohoo.
On
All right,
Wall
Dennis.
Street.
Dennis, you got to name drop somebody here. You know.
Actually, I don't think I can.
But you know what it means
He's
is
contractually obligated not to.
Dennis is
Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it. You don't want to be a part of that group. You don't want to be that guy.
Dennis behaves nicely, unlike the rest of us.
Oh, behave.
Wow.
Okay, I don't think we finished introducing.
No, we didn't.
Okay,
But I didn't play moderator boy either.
live from Palo Alto is
da-da, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
there you go.
Keith Tier, the only one and only Keith Tier, has been absent without leave for about a long time.
Cat.
I got good news today. My 22-year-old son, who graduated from Syracuse 3 weeks ago, and I went to my
Great
first
school.
ever American graduation ceremony, which blew me away.
Who spoke?
Biden, he's a Syracuse,
Whoa.
yeah, and
He didn't
plus-
trip, did he?
plus a Lebanese American woman who was the Secretary of Health under I think Carter, who
Wow.
was great. She said, "When I was here, I broke all the rules. You guys should do that too."
Wait a minute. Did Biden go to like graduate school at Syracuse? Because we own him for undergrad at the University of Delaware.
I have no idea, but he definitely went there. He did the always orange kind of stuff.
Oh, come
Definitely
on.
real.
He's ours. Sorry.
As long as he didn't trip on a sandbag.
Just don't sandbag the guy. That's
Yeah, there you go. That was a much better joke.
The fact that he spoke, and by the way, he wasn't physically present. It was recorded. I don't know if it was live streamed, but it was on video. The woman was physically present, but the fact that he did it means he must have some affinity for the place.
Yeah, but he's actually physically present when he comes to speak for University of Delaware. So.
There you go.
Oh, there we go.
And
Yeah.
speaking of Delaware,
Because he kind of lives down the road. He can probably walk there or hitchhike maybe.
Well, it's a small state.
Brent is from Delaware, but he now resides in Atlanta or around Atlanta, Georgia. Hello, Brent Leary.
Anyway,
Hello.
Hey,
Hello.
Brent, did
All right. Let's see. No. Bring it back. Bring it back.
formerly known as
My
Brent,
favorite
did you
part-
ever go to the
From-
Henlopen Hotel in Rehoboth Beach?
Wait,
No.
wait. I want to hear Brent's Paisley Park. Oh, look
Oh.
at that.
Backstage pass?
Yeah.
yeah, I got
I would show off me holding the guitar, but that might be a little too much for you guys.
I got tickets to Nick Cave in Las Vegas. I'm looking forward to that in all. I think it's in September.
Who?
Yeah. Who's-
Nicholas Cave, the Australian. If you ever watch Peaky Blinders, he does the music.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the actor that does all the terrible movies now.
That's Cage.
All right, whatever.
Age.
So speaking, have you ever heard of Albert Lee, Keith?
Yes.
So Albert Lee and James Burton. Anybody here know who that is? James
Yes.
Burton, Elvis Presley's guitar player.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Who's and Van Morrison are all performing on Sunday at the Palladium. I'll be there. So
Palladium's
look,
still there?
Nice.
The London Palladium.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's a big guitar show.
London Palladium is
You're
classic.
going.
When I was a kid, the BBC every Sunday had Sunday night from the London Palladium.
Oh, wow.
That's
was
cool.
usually-
It's a
was
great
like-
venue.
It was vaudeville. It was when you had a comedian and then some dancers, and it was like the worst show ever.
That's like the Apollo. For us,
what?
I think. Well, the vaudeville.
It's not the worst show ever. It's the greatest show ever.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm not talking about good or bad. I'm just saying that type of variety was like the Apollo, I believe.
Although I saw James Brown at the Apollo in 1963, and it was not a variety show.
Oh.
It was incredible. It really turned me around from listening to things like the Beatles and the Beach Boys. I never did after that, ever.
Really?
Well,
Wow.
until like maybe 15 years later. I honestly, I just did a complete turnaround. Not six, wasn't 63. The Beatles weren't there yet. But it was the Beach Boys.
Hmm. Interesting.
Anyway, there you go.
Okay,
And by the way,
Tina,
I'm Tina Chase Gillmor, and this is the Gillmor Gang. Hey, what are we talking about today?
I got something I'd like to talk about if you don't mind my kicking it off.
Michael Markman has a family issue that he's dealing with, and we wish him and his sister very well. And look forward to seeing him in the future. Okay, that's it.
He would have loved to talk about what I'd like to throw on the table. I think this past week has been, it's not political, has been a golden age for streaming television, with the finales of some of the greatest shows I think I have ever seen on the air, from Succession to Ted Lasso to The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, to the killer, what's his name, the murderer, the serial killer,
Barry.
Barry. So the honest to God, the kinds of shows that, well, network TV cannot make those kinds of shows. They simply can't. But literally only 5 or 6 years ago, you would have expected these kinds of big shows to be on network TV. Now I say big in a sort of an offhanded way, because even the finale of Succession only had 3.5 million viewers in linear. And honest to God, that would have gotten you canceled 10 years ago, or even 15 years ago. It was just, they're touting these great ratings, and it isn't about the ratings. It's about the subscriptions for these services.
It doesn't matter anymore.
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, that's it. I just thought that it was some of the best TV I have ever seen in 1 week.
Wow. I have to say, I haven't seen any of those shows.
Oh, spoiler alert.
Yeah. Not gonna tell you.
Don't worry. I mean, you won't spoil it for me. I probably won't see it. So
I haven't
So who
seen
did
Barry.
shoot JR?
It's kind of like
I thought it was that guy from The Simpsons.
good Lord. All
Okay,
right.
so we're not going to be talking about any of the plots of any of the shows that you just mentioned. So what are we talking about?
Plots. Okay, forget it. Let's talk about the debt ceiling story. There are
I
still
applaud.
there are winners. There are winners and losers, aren't there? Who are the losers? There's, the Republicans are playing McCarthy as a winner, except for the 20 who portray him as a loser, and
You did a good job.
had to have, it seems to me.
Yeah, I think if you're talking about it, you're a loser.
Really? Me? I'm a loser, or McCarthy's a loser?
No, well,
I've been a
in the
loser.
comparison,
I know losers.
and you, sir, are no loser. No, but if you, in the comparison between McCarthy and Biden, the one who's talking the most is the loser.
In that case,
And that's not
Biden-
me. That's not me. That's that seems to be the consensus among the people who cover this stuff.
And
Well, I think
Biden
that
doesn't
the
talk about
obvious,
it.
the opposite is also true. The ones who aren't talking, like the progressives, are winners.
Well,
I thought some
no,
of the
that's
progressives.
not the opposite. That's concurrence.
Okay, I would agree with that. But I think that was important that with the exception of Tim Kaine, they all shut up and let history make itself.
Yes, and there'll be plenty. There's going to be plenty of history to discuss in the 24 election, and it's just now coming into focus with the indictments that are being teed up for he who must not be named, and things that are happening like the debt ceiling bill. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Michael Markman wrote a story that he posted on, I know it was on Facebook, it was probably on LinkedIn, where he basically wrote a very effective Biden promo for his reelection campaign, where he just listed the wins, and it was so formidable. And I said to him, boy, that's a great spot. You should make that spot, send it to him, because you could do that with file footage, and it was really something.
Yeah.
Scott,
And the Democrats don't, to your point, Dennis, the Democrats don't talk about it, which,
No,
by
I
the
don't
way, I
believe
think is
that.
a problem.
It's not that they don't talk about it. It's that this time they didn't talk about it.
do you know how those liberty people stole the narrative from the Republicans during the election and since? What, Frank, you should do with Michael and others is start the Democrat version of that. Take the
You mean
narrative,
the Lincoln Project?
the Lincoln Project. So
Yeah.
take that idea and become that for the Democrats. Like, what is the real message? And then do a really good job of producing it.
That's so much work. I don't think I'm in the mood for work, but
I think anybody has to help Biden. He's doing an incredibly good job.
yeah, I agree. But the base is the base, and it's impenetrable. And not that I guess if you look at the numbers, the impenetrable base doesn't matter, since it's not a number that can win in a general election, but it still makes the most noise.
So what?
I don't know. Honestly,
If all things stay the same way and Biden wins, that's a good thing.
I agree with that.
All right. So there's the strategy.
Yeah. So here,
I think that's right.
don't do anything. Just status quo it.
Keep
Well,
doing what you're not doing.
Well, that's kind of rope-a-dope, and that's a little bit dangerous. Rope-a-dope is dangerous anytime, unless you've done, 12 million sit-ups. I think a version of that kind of rope-a-dope makes a great deal of sense. But I think at some point, the gloves have to come off, and you have to ask yourself: is the Republican Party, the whole party, capable of governance? And I kind of think
like it.
I kind of think that's the message.
Well, I think McCarthy did a good job.
Interesting that he kept his speakership, that he negotiated it in such a way that the win actually helps him to keep his speakership. Because if he were to be, if there was an attempt to pull him out of that job, it would be really easy to look at it and say, well, that's just retaliation without a reason.
Well, the only way the Republicans get to have a good election is if the McCarthy method dominates, which is breaking up the Trump alliance and creating a new center alliance that gets stuff done with a candidate that's prepared to represent that. Because if Trump's the candidate, or DeSantis, I think, then Biden's going to win, period. If they really want to beat Biden, assuming he's still around and he doesn't have an illness of some kind, they need to represent something that is positive, and that involves breaking up the Trump alliance. And this was the first tangible evidence of being able to break that Trump alliance.
How so? I mean, what data do you point at that indicates that there's any breaking up of the Trump alliance?
The votes for the debt ceiling in both houses brought not the majority, but a bunch of Republicans and a bunch of Democrats together that represented common sense in this particular instance, and so that's why it passed, right? More people voted for it than voted against it.
That's true. That's true. But I think the deeper question is it possible for what you're suggesting to happen? What you're suggesting is kind of a sort of a peaceful quiescence. And I think the only way the Trump thing gets broken up is that it crashes and burns.
Yeah, it just falls apart by entropy and decay.
Well, I think that might happen.
That would be good then. So,
but I don't think that will happen. I think the opposite's going to happen. I think
you think
Trump's
that
getting stronger and stronger by the minute.
No, he's not.
Oh,
I'm not sure of that. I'm not sure of
these
that.
legal challenges help him.
I refer you to Keith Tier, who referred me to Karl Marx.
I did not. I never said that.
The second time is farce.
Yeah.
Trump is deep into farce.
Yeah, but he thrives on it.
But he thrives on it. So what? He's still, yelling.
Lose. I mean, let's
he's
be
like
clear.
a little minnow swimming around in his big bowl, and nobody else cares except those people.
Well, nobody
I
else
thought that-
cares. If you ignore 48% of the population, nobody else.
It's not that big a number.
That's not true.
No, it may be
Not a
30-some% of the
Well, even
Republicans.
if it was only 20%, it's not nobody.
You could say that about the people that think that Led Zeppelin is better than the Beatles. They're credible people. I just don't agree with them.
Yeah, I agree
Well,
with
They're
that.
not
I think the real
credible.
question,
You're
though,
giving them too much there.
the real question isn't how strong the base is can the base grow? And I think that's where you get into crash and burn area.
Exactly.
Actually, I was focused a bit on a different thing, which is I don't think Trump can win anyway, no matter what, whether he's stronger or weaker, he's going to lose. So I was more focused on what can the Democrats do to win. And I'm saying what McCarthy did in the last 10 days was actually quite credible.
I agree.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Did
but
anyone?
I disagree with the notion that asking what the Democrats need to do in order to win is
No, the Republicans
not lose. If Trump loses, the Democrats win. So what's the strategy? Let him lose.
Unless he's not the Republican
Even if he isn't,
nominee,
if he's not the Republican
then he loses.
candidate, then he loses.
Yeah.
I realized I was doing something.
Hey, I think you need to refer back to the presidential election of 1956. It was the rematch of Eisenhower and Adlai Stevenson. Stevenson had nothing new, and Ike just had to look presidential. That kind of thing happens.
I realize I'm doing something a bit inappropriate because obviously I don't want the Republicans to win. I was just putting myself in the head of their strategists and saying, isn't this a moment where you could take what you just did and get to a place where Trump isn't the nominee and there is actually a nominee that represents the middle ground?
It would be nice to see.
And if I was, look, the people who voted for this bill, Trump's going to go after them. So their only choice is to kill him, in quotes. And so if you're them, don't you come up with a strategy for a candidate that is the anti-Trump within the Republican Party?
I agree with you.
Work. Not
I
if it
agree with.
work.
I don't think if he was going to go after them, don't you think he would have gone after them by now, even though it's like the day after? It seems to me he's still after De Sanctimonious.
True, but De Sanctimonious doesn't look like a realistic winner.
No, he sure doesn't.
Wait a
I may be
minute,
wrong.
is it de sanctimonious or does sanctimonious?
Exactly.
I think it's either. It's potatoes.
Well,
So-
if you're Southern Italian, it's D. If you're Northern Italian, it's duh.
Yeah,
Southern
if you're,
Italian-
but the problem with Northern Italy is they don't have red sauce.
Well,
Well, they
Southern
have they have bolognese, which is kind of pink.
anything
Pink.
south of New York City, is that Southern Italian?
All of New York City is Southern Italian.
Oh, come on. Radis, is that Italian?
It's
You meant to
radice. It's
say-
radice. Come
you
on.
meant to say
South of 14th Street.
All of New York is Southern Italian, capiche.
Capiche. Capiche. What's his name from New Jersey is the most viable Republican nominee, I think.
Christie.
Christie.
What?
Chris
Really?
Christie.
They hate him. Are you kidding me?
I think he's
you know,
he's-
I
Well,
well,
okay,
okay, they're all clowns, but except for maybe Scott, who sounds pretty smart.
He's a clown too. Don't get.
Oh my God, then they're all clowns. So,
Wow.
it's a clown car. The whole Republican Party is a clown car.
Right, which is how you get to crash and burn.
It's a very dangerous clown car that we shouldn't underestimate. On the other hand, no, they're very dangerous.
No. I agree. I'm going, somebody will
So when
win.
you say,
No. I didn't say nah. I meant not nah. There was no nah at the end of my
Okay.
But they're going to have a nominee. Of
Yeah, it's
course
going to
they
be
will.
Mike Pence.
No, it's
Yeah.
not.
Did
That was-
anybody?
Right?
Couldn't
you
even say
seen-
that with a straight face.
Oh, we got a Brent Leary joke out of that.
Yeah, that was fun. That was funny, Bleary.
Yeah,
Have
I
you?
cracked
Has anyone?
myself up now, and I'm sorry. That was good.
I
You're
love
really
how your
going out there
camera,
on a limb.
your
with all
camera's
this,
following you. Look at
Tasting
that. That's
Park
incredible.
Yes, you're getting pretty overt.
Feisty even.
I warned you yesterday I was going to speak up today. So
No, you said double. You were going to double what?
I think I've
Well,
surpassed that already. So I'm-
He's already done that. He's
Yeah.
past that. He's into the triple. He's like it's a triple. It's an inside the park home run, is what I think it is.
So let me change the subject a little bit. Keith, how's that venture capital, industry going? How's that back to AI thing? Is that really working for everybody?
what did you call it?
back to AI.
It's a reference to Phil Spector's "Back to Mono" button.
Oh, oof, okay.
So venture capital is going through a death and a birth simultaneously. It's kind of interesting. The old version of venture capital, and by old I mean the last 10 years, where very large investors came in quite early in the life of companies and wrote oversized checks that pretty much made the company just through giving them enough money to not fail. That's gone. The symptom of that is that venture rounds are labeled by letters. B rounds, C rounds, D rounds, and beyond are just more or less not happening. And so all the companies that raised seed money and Series A money in 2020, 2021, 2022 are kind of stuck at that stage and are not getting further financing and are slowly running out of money. So there's a whole bunch of what are known as inside rounds happening, where the existing investors give more money to the companies to bridge them through to an assumed next stage, which probably won't happen. So there's a kind of the death of the last, 10 years as an era is pretty much in the bag. AI.
So wait, hang on. Let's get to the net of it, which is, so that's a good thing in one scenario, as you say, that it's both very negative and also very positive as an opportunity. Is that a paraphrase of what you said at the beginning?
Yeah, although I haven't yet spoken to the positive. I mean, most of what I just said is looked at from the point of view of founders and investors who are already invested.
Right. Well, I'm just trying to fully flesh out the negative before
Yeah.
we pitch for the positive.
Yeah, yeah. So that's accurate. It's sunk cost, probably not going to be returned.
Are the meta people the losers and the AI people the winners? I mean, is that to get real simple? Is that sort of where we are? A and B. If that's the case, then why are companies like Apple and Microsoft still putting and Meta still stinking money into Meta?
Actually, Meta is long.
And I don't mean Meta the company. I mean the concept of Meta.
Yeah. I think you can have opinions there. My opinion is the concept of metaverse is BS and not real. And I doubt that is where Apple is going, because I think they're clever enough to realize that. And I'm going to be somewhat interested what they launch and what they claim it's for next week.
So they're saying it's an AR thing, right? Not an XR thing.
Mixed reality is the word they use, which means it can do VR and it can do AR, but AR is what they care about, not VR. So, but I don't think that is the signal of the future actually at all. I think that my equivalent to that would be the 1990s obsession with interactive TV. It's an obsession. Lots of money's going into it, but it probably doesn't turn into a real thing anytime soon. The VR piece, the AR piece, the tech isn't there yet for it to be good enough. Ultimately, when it is, that is real. But that's
who sunk all the money into that VR company that was promising the world?
Lots of people put money into it, and that company's still alive. It has a headset you can buy for $3,000, and it's kind of. But one of the founders of that company went off and created an AI image generation platform, which is huge.
What's the name of the platform?
The Mid-Journey.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole generative AI thing with like what Adobe is doing right now, and what Final Cut Pro is starting to do when you can do that sort of generative inside video. I think that's going to be a huge thing. And what I find interesting is that all of this talk is about something that really started with text.
Yeah, but you see what's happened, and this is really important. Crunchbase had a headline this week saying AR is real, $20 billion invested so far this year tells the story. In fact, they're wrong. Almost all that money went to OpenAI. And if you look at the number,
AR is real. You meant AI is real, correct?
AI, AI is real as a tech, but money is not flowing to AI startups. It is not. It's mostly going to a couple of big guys. And the number of AI investments actually is down, quite significantly down, and the average check size is down. So VC,
except NVIDIA stock just like went through the roof. I mean,
that's what I mean by the big guys. So NVIDIA, OpenAI itself, Microsoft basking in the glory of OpenAI, less so Google, a little bit Adobe. They're all prospering, but the startup ecosystem actually isn't yet.
Have you played with Bard and its ability to drop images into text?
Yeah,
that was pretty cool. I did that yesterday for the first time. Is anyone else doing that yet?
yeah.
I'm proud to say that I've not done any of that. Not one GPT flavor.
I think there's bells and whistles, and then there's real stuff. I think the real stuff is the plugins for OpenAI that have been released in the last couple of weeks, which connect OpenAI to other platforms and allow it to achieve goals like booking an open table, flight, all kinds of stuff. For me, the most significant is they plugged it into a coding engine using the language Python, which lets you tell it what you want to do, and it writes the code for you and then runs it. That's huge to me. And so I think it's early days, but the stuff it's good at is performing tasks. It's really bad at having opinions.
Well,
So
it hallucinates.
So that-
The thing I worry about is that it's good at stuff, not having a clue as to what they're doing.
well, that's true in content. It's less true in functions.
I disagree.
Mm.
I disagree. I haven't seen any data that suggests that hallucinations are only confined to content.
Well, I can tell you, I use it every day for coding because I don't code in Python, and that's a kind of a bit of a liability in my world. And so I've been using it to code Python. And literally now on my laptop, I can install Python libraries and run code that it wrote against my data.
Do you use voice to
No.
navigate?
No, I type.
So have you tried using voice to navigate?
I haven't, because I'm not a big voice. I'm not a big advocate of voice, to be honest. I'm much more comfortable typing.
Hmm.
But
That's pretty annoying. It's
that's
pretty
just
I-
personal.
I had an opportunity to, I guess earlier this year, do a conversation with a VP over at NVIDIA, you know, kind of talking about some of this stuff. And it's like the more meatier things are things that people aren't even talking about. I mean, everybody's kind of got, you know, the imagery, being able to create unicorns by, you know, chatting, and that's got everybody's attention. But you know, this guy is talking about, you know, he's deals with the financial industry, banking. He's like, well, no, we're starting to use this stuff, large language models, to impact, I think he called it anti-money laundering, which is apparently a $2 trillion problem. And he's like, no, this stuff, we're able to you know, take our LLMs and train on things that can be detected, easily detect real fraud from what appears to be fraud, which most of the fake fraud is about 6% of all that is out there visible, which, you know, if you're too busy trying to wade through the 94% to find the actual 6%, you know, agents will never get there. But they're saying, you know, we're using this stuff to actually train, you know, to understand and how to read balance sheets, how to read statutes and all that. So
That's valuable.
Yeah, see that, and that's what I think is going to drive actual, you know, usage of this stuff, as opposed to creating unicorns and stuff. Which I know it's, you know, there's a lot of interest and excitement around that, and there's a lot of stuff that has to be figured out. Like if I say, give me a unicorn with, you know, 5 colors and put it in a pasture, I'm not an artist. I'm not really creating that. I don't have any rights to that, and I think that's going to be one of the things that holds up a lot of this excitement, or I don't know if it's irrational exuberance or what, but certain things people are doing, they can't own because it's built off of other people's stuff.
Well, that's the whole text world in it right now, because all of the text is generated by other people's work. And so a lot of writers that are on picket lines right now are worried about what they're calling, theft of this content, and that's what they think AI is. But I think, like almost every other generation of some kind of technology movement, it starts out like this, and it gets built up based on people's use of it and understanding of it, and trying to figure out how to make it work. Rather than just jumping into it and say, make me a unicorn in a field of green.
Well, I think Adobe is one of those companies that actually, what they've done with their imaging with, what is it called again? Firefox, whatever. So they, you know, there's Adobe, the Firefly, there's the Adobe stock images. So it's actually basing its ability to use generative AI off of stuff they actually own. You know, so it's not just going out finding stuff in the public, which who knows who created what, and now that stuff is being created from that. They actually have built, you know, their own libraries of stuff, and you can use their generative AI tools to run against their library to create stuff, and you don't have to worry about any of that copyright issues. Only the big companies are going to be able to do stuff like that, which I don't know what that means for the future of all this, but there's so many limiting factors beyond just, oh, this technology is great, but okay, it's great, but can you actually monetize it? If you're generating something and you're trying to claim it as your own, but it's based off of like everything in the public square.
So I think it comes down to platform versus service. And if you look what Adobe, like I just redid my Adobe Creative Cloud $250 a year subscription that I canceled because I want to use that stuff. And I'm paying OpenAI $20 a month, so that's $240 a year, and that's like subscription. But OpenAI is making more money from developers paying for API access than it is from subscribers. So I think the business model for this ends up being that there's kind of relative intelligence applied to various things: text, images, videos, eventually all kinds of stuff, stock picking. And you're going to pay either a subscription or a developer API fee to access it, and trillions and trillions of dollars of value is going to be created.
Yeah, I think that's what's interesting about the. If we take a look at what Microsoft is doing, essentially, they've survived the winter of the loss of Office and Windows, and now they're basically. Very kind of, I don't want to say it in a negative way, but I do perceive the danger of it, which is a very predatory kind of strategy to basically lock up the intellectual property rights of the models. The training phase is where the value of this is occurring. And if you take a look at what Adobe's done, they've successfully done two things. First of all, they transitioned from a shrink wrap model to a subscription model. And Microsoft is now, in effect, emulating Adobe, not the other way around, by doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So the impact of that, the winners, I think, to Keith's point, the winners long range are going to be those that are essentially the I don't want to use content as the word, but the owners of the intellectual property.
You mean the content?
No, I don't.
No. This is my day-to-day work, Steve, and I just put a link just for the gang here in the chat to the AI predictions.
Well, that's helpful. Why don't you put it where the viewers can see it?
Yeah, I'll put it in the.
He is.
Gillmor Substack notes or Substack chat.
Yeah.
There's
And I can,
and it's wide open.
because I'm thinking and speaking, if someone just copies and pastes my link and puts it everywhere, that's fine. But the link I put is the predictive outcomes of SignalRank's algorithms on which B rounds you should invest in if you're a venture capitalist. And it's 29 companies so far this year out of about 650 opportunities to invest in B rounds. So it's about 5%-ish. And I'm totally happy to publish that data. I'm not happy to publish the algorithms we use to do the prediction. So the IP, Steve, is right. The IP is in the training and the algorithms and the models, which by the way, have to be retrained constantly, and especially when you're picking stocks. So to be aligned to the market. Like last year, our algorithm picked 250 companies, which was also about 5%. This year it's picked 29, which is also about 5%, but it knew it had to pick less to get to the good ones. So
Keith, what do you think about those companies that are banning their employees from using any of these AI language models at work or on their work computers.
You know, you can empathize a bit because the models are not perfect by any means, but you can, you also know for sure that your resume in the future is going to need expertise in using those models, no matter what your job is. If you can't use ChatGPT in copy editing a year from now, you probably won't get the job.
But I think aren't these companies saying that the use of these long language models opens up their business secrets to the public? Because when you go in and start to use ChatGPT, it may gather from those places information and insert it into your requests.
Well, look, the real way to understand it is AI is essentially an academic focus with PhDs and lots of white papers. And if you read those white papers, which I have to, they always include enough information that you could go and test them. For example, AI has a thing called features that have weights. People expose what the features and the weights are. Now, in an academic environment, that's fine. In a commercial environment, you can't do that. You basically have to, if you want to turn your ideas into value, you have to keep them secret. And so there is a kind of a tension between society's needs and the needs of a corporation, always. And that tension is hard to resolve from inside the corporation because you have a fiduciary duty to keep things secret and make money from them.
But wouldn't a closed environment sort of belie what AI is all about?
No, I actually think a lot of open source AI is going to be way stronger and better than the private AIs. There was a great article a couple of weeks ago from a Google leak where Google said there is no moat. Why? Because the open source models are bigger and better than the private models, and that ultimately open source will win. And that so OpenAI and Google and others shouldn't try to create proprietary AIs because they won't win.
Well, that seems kind of obvious
Could be
because
wrong.
OpenAI has got a bigger bucket to go grab stuff from. Yes?
Yes, that's true. And I do think the best way to think about OpenAI today is as a flawed human being. You know, I have lots of colleagues who confidently will answer a question and be completely wrong. Human beings are like that. And I think because OpenAI is learning from human data, there's no way it could be better than that at this stage. This week, they did announce that they've applied some new constraints on what it learns based on reasoning that allows it to distinguish between things that are true and not true. And there's some early indications of success, but I bet you anything, it's way less than 100% successful.
But
so,
in the beginning, though,
Before we get off into a really deep tangent here, I'd like to have Tina, who's been trying to interrupt for about 20 minutes, say what she's trying to say.
Well, if you would indulge me, I would like to read something that a longtime viewer, Ian Waring, posted that was generated by ChatGPT about the Gillmor gang. So I think it's sort of relevant. So let's see if we can turn Steve's feelings about ChatGPT with this. Okay, so here we go. The Gillmor Gang is a long-running podcast and internet show that focuses on technology and its impact on society. It was created by Steve Gillmor, a technology journalist and entrepreneur. The show features a panel of experts and industry insiders who engage in discussions about the latest trends, innovations, and news in the tech world. The Gillmor Gang provides insightful analysis, commentary, and predictions related to technology, social media, software, and the overall digital landscape. It has built a dedicated following over the years and continues to provide thought-provoking conversations for tech enthusiasts. The Gillmor Gang has gained in popularity for several reasons. First, it features a panel of knowledgeable and experienced experts who provide valuable insights and analysis on technology-related topics. The diverse backgrounds and expertise of the panelists contribute to the well-rounded discussions and different perspectives. Second, the show has been running for a long time, since 2004, which has allowed it to establish a loyal and engaged audience. Its longevity speaks to the quality and relevance of its relevance of its content, as well as its ability to adapt and stay current with changing technology trends. Additionally, the Gillmor Gang has been successful in fostering a sense of community and engagement among its viewers. Through various platforms such as social media and online forums, viewers can interact with the panelists and fellow enthusiasts, sharing their thoughts, asking questions, and participating in ongoing conversations. And overall, the Gillmor Gang's combination of insightful analysis, expert panelists, longevity, and community engagement has contributed to its popularity within the tech community.
Okay, what's your point?
I think that is basically captured Steve. That if you read
Yeah.
that,
It
That
sounds
is Steve.
like-
That is Steve. That
It was,
Or Chat GPT.
it was written by ChatGPT.
It sounds very repetitive to me.
Well, I think Ian asked it 2 questions, so it got a little repetitive with the second one that had elements of the first
Okay,
one.
so you put those two
But,
together.
you know, if I were using ChatGPT to write, I would edit this. But this would be a great framework to start with. And I think that is probably how a lot of people are using it these
yeah,
days.
you have to edit it.
Like, okay,
Well,
some of the guts, let me make sure that the facts are right. Is 2004 correct? Is, fact check it. But and you throw out some of the repetitiveness of it. And I think you've got a decent thing, and that was quickly generated. So I don't know.
Yeah, except I did a CV and it said I went to Harvard.
Oh, it had me working for IBM, which I never did.
Oh,
But there was last week at a conference we were at, we talked to the CMO. This guy said that his last blog post, it was 100% written by ChatGPT. And he said that it had his voice because he had written several hundred blog posts, and he felt that he didn't have to change anything, which I think the thing that stood out to me the most was
He's the CMO of that company.
of pros. That he previously was a CMO at Microsoft, but he literally said that he this thing wrote a full blog post completely in his voice. He didn't make any changes. I still find that kind of hard to believe, but because I just can't. I don't want to believe that something could have my voice, some non-thing could have my voice. I don't think I can go that far with that.
Well, some people actually want that to happen. So I do have a question that maybe Keith can answer, because I haven't dived into this enough. And that is, it has always been able to, since its inception, go out and grab things that are out there and then bring them together and write them, whatever voice it is. But and that you can insert your own content into it and then have it spit it back out at you in your voice.
Yeah, what you can do is copy and paste stuff, quite long stuff, and have it act on it in a way that you tell it. So, for
So
example,
that's the same thing.
Yeah, you can say, look, I've just written this. Can you act as Grammarly and copy edit it and improve it? Funnily enough, I tried using it for my editorial a couple of weeks ago, and Jenny, my wife, read it and said, it doesn't sound like you. It's nowhere near as good as because it's missing the kind of edgy provisional
Snarky, some of the snarky.
all
So-
that stuff.
But that's you. That's your voice. That's why I have a hard time having somebody literally say this thing wrote exactly, what I would have written in the way that I would have written it. I just can't believe that. It's hard for me to take time.
Well, especially if someone is a very like creative sort of writer, very, I think that is a bit harder, but will it get there? Probably.
Hope not. I mean, me personally, I don't want something else writing in my voice.
Do we really want to have a doubt about the sentient existence of, a billion H100s chips?
No, but I think
Why is that a good thing?
I'm not saying it's a good thing. I said it
Oh.
probably will happen.
Even the HAL 9000 didn't have its own voice.
Some of the people that Keith quotes in his attempt at balance and fairness, what's that guy's name?
Gary Marcus.
Yeah, exactly. They would suggest to you, if you just keep reading, which is of course endless, about this, he basically is saying that the idea that there is a there, that this is going to continue to be perfected to the point where it actually works, is a fallacy.
I don't think so.
Well, I understand. You don't think so. And a lot of people don't think so. And then there are a lot of other people who think, I don't know about this.
I think,
But I think the problem there
is that you just keep working it down. You keep telling it becomes your live editor. It becomes your live, okay, let's now insert, can we use something with the word blah, blah, blah in here? Because I use that a lot, or, and let it keep working on it. I think that's
as a
like
writer,
almost there now.
as a writer,
Yeah.
If there are certain things that you think that you enjoy saying that become sort of catchphrases, the biggest problem you have is oversaturating whatever it is you're writing about with these kind of mental tics that you enjoy.
but I think
At some point the reader says, enough already.
I
I don't know
know.
what you're talking about.
the thing is
There is no it's. There
No,
is
you're-
a person there that is talking to them.
But you're a person, if you're overseeing it and you keep tweaking it with the
It's a theory.
engine,
It's a theory that
That's what I was saying, Tina. I think that we're saying the same thing. It'll constantly be tweaked, and the AI will move it forward.
the word that sums up what it's good at, that I think it's just irrefutably good at, is what everyone calls co-pilot. So you never make it the boss, but it's a really, really good co-pilot that you can steer by iterating back and forth, and you basically use it as just a computer that's helping your brain get to the output you're looking for. And it does do a really good job of that. It's really bad if you ask it to do everything.
But see, that's the point I was getting at when I was asking you the question about the use of voice, because the use of voice in say in Siri or with a Alexa is to use it as an assistant. An assistant is basically a co-pilot. And the idea of voice activated AI is voice AI.
well, it's hard to argue with that.
It's pretty obvious.
And a friend of mine who I love said it wrote a critical thing saying it's an anti-human, and that we humans, by liking it, are emptying ourselves of our humanity and putting it onto a computer. And I disagree with him strongly. I think it's the opposite. I think it's almost the most human thing we've ever invented. It's completely incapable of existing without human content. And it's leveraging human content in a way that is more efficient and flawed, because human content is flawed, than anything we've ever produced. So to me, it's like humanity. It's almost like when you invent a drug that cures an illness. It's that good.
I'd be
And
curious to know what Dennis feels about it, and have you used it at all? Are you, what's your emotional feeling about it?
Oh gosh, I don't know if I have any emotional feeling about it at all. I've tried it a few times, and it looks like any nascent technology does at its outset. I think it's not going to go away. I'd love it to go away, but I think as long as there's a profit incentive, it's going to stick around, and it's going to get better. And we're going to have to figure out. Right now we're all early adopters, and we are the people who have to figure out how it makes sense. We're the ones that figure out how it really makes money, how it really works, how it applies. That's us. We're not anywhere near the era of the early majority yet.
Yeah.
No, I think that's right. We're forced to contend with it.
Right. I am a little concerned, though, that what you usually at this point in a market evolution, you usually see 1,000 flowers bloom, and it seems like 1,000 flowers tried to bloom, and people went around and picked about 950 of them, or maybe 983 of them. It's a market that seems to be consolidating perhaps too rapidly.
Well,
Yeah,
certainly
I
way
think-
more rapidly than the whole idea of XR and the immersive media.
Well, I mean, you go back really far. There were a dozen relational database companies at one point. There were more mini computer companies than I could count in my backyard. And they all crashed eventually, or got bought up, or whatever. But there was this blooming of capacity and capability, and oh, look what we can do. And it took a lot to consolidate all that.
Do you think that the speed that this is moving forward is going to create the really bad security issues?
I think that's overstated myself.
Yeah, I don't know, for the simple reason that I'm not sure if the velocity is due to technological acceleration, or if it's being goosed by venture capital. If it's the latter, then you got a problem.
Well, the other thing about this, though, is it's so easy to use that people who aren't necessarily technologically savvy or venture capitalists are in it.
Yeah.
That moves it in a different direction entirely.
Well, as long as you bring that up, think about the analog, Elizabeth Holmes and Theranos. She had a bunch of people advising her on her board who had no clue about medicine or laboratory testing. She dropped out of school at a time when people are learning basic chemistry. There was nobody in that company that was capable of doing anything productive to achieve those visions that she had. So are we there?
What she had was a great idea that could never happen.
What she had was blonde hair.
That too. Yeah, that too. She doesn't wear the turtlenecks anymore, apparently. So
and I know.
Don't endorse all of the comments here. The blonde hair reference, I'm not.
Well,
It's not me. You know what? It's not me. I don't want to go out on a limb and insult anybody, but she had people like George Shultz on her board of directors, and Colin Powell, and a bunch of old men.
yeah, because those guys knew a lot about medicine.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, George Shultz had a PhD in chemistry, but that he never used. I mean, he went into politics.
George Shultz, yeah.
You have to be a bit. No, you have to be a bit careful.
He's not a scientist.
I was on the advisory board of eScripts. I've forgotten now what it called. They acquired the company MedTech or something like that. Med something. And look, I know nothing about medicine or drugs. The reason they had me on the advisory board was to do with knowledge of venture capital markets and go to market and everything. So there's a lot of reasons why you have someone on your board that don't have to be experts in the field. They can be contributing something else. So we have to.
Well,
Absolutely.
The key is the
100%.
You're right.
The
Yep.
key to what Dennis is saying is if you have nobody on the board that knows about the problem domain, you're in trouble and you go to jail eventually.
Yeah. No, that's true.
Yeah.
That's
Like I think yesterday.
yeah.
That's true.
But this all started with your question, Steve, about the pessimism, the bad stuff about venture capital, and we never got to the good stuff. But the good stuff isn't really happening yet. So Dennis, your fear that venture capital is pumping this, it isn't yet. There is a lot of big money.
Oh, come on. I don't agree with that. To me, there's a very simple correlation between the crypto winter and the AI boom. It's, there's transference going on there and it's being driven in the venture community. I mean, come on.
No, but the numbers don't back that. I thought that was true as well, by the way, until.
Well, who's buying Nvidia? Is that all hedge funds, or is that guys like Bleary?
That'll be everyone who, it's a public market company, so it's going to be all of the above. But venture isn't really about that. Venture's about putting. I think of it like this. I think bubbles in venture are both inevitable and rational. What happens is very early on, people see wind in the sails of something big and they pile in. And that's the right thing to do, because if you don't pile in early, you won't make money. So people pile in and they overpay, and that creates a bubble. And then the bubble eventually peaks and bursts, but good things are left alive afterwards. So that to me is a normal cycle.
What a metaphor you got there.
I was just going to say, I just saw bubbles the other day.
There you go.
Thank you.
So what I'll say is that bubble has not yet started in early stage investing in AI. It hasn't started yet.
The political equivalent of this was the last presidential election when Biden won South Carolina in the Democratic primary. Everybody else folded their tents, and it seems like that to me.
So what is the South Carolina for AI? We haven't hit it yet.
Well, I think that what is going to be a big tell is going to be whether Microsoft gets away with trying to force out the open source market by acquiring it.
I bet you the Europeans don't allow that, and that
agree.
I think
I think they've got I think the entire venture community is terrified that Microsoft is going to commoditize this. And
the Europeans are the ones making.
The question is whether or not they're going to be successful at countering this. This is a very sophisticated takeover of the investment community by Microsoft.
The European community and the British are the ones that seem to be looking at this really hard and saying and trying to put. Not put a stop to it, but they're putting the brakes on it and making people start to think about it in a different way, I think, than they are in the States. At least it seems that way to me.
Yeah, I agree. I think all Microsoft needs to do right now is name the thing Explorer GPT, and we're done.
I wouldn't bet against
Barda boom.
I wouldn't bet against Microsoft here.
Say again?
I think that Satya has demonstrated an incredible capability of transitioning out of a series of fatal losses into an extremely powerful position, matched only by Apple.
Totally agree. I
Yeah.
think if you look at Azure and the Visual Studio tools and the APIs available for developers through their cloud, and the integration of AI into their products, in less than 6 months, Azure becomes the leader compared to Amazon Cloud and Google Cloud in terms of relevance to what's going on.
Yeah, but the difficult part that Microsoft has to contend with is the fact that it still requires you to own every single Office product and all of that stuff in order to get everything else for free.
Yeah,
And so if there is a counter to that model that's coming out of the open source community, I wouldn't bet on it, but if there was, we should be looking for that, because if we don't, there's just going to be a lot of noise and very little payoff.
Well, there's no doubt that Microsoft has like pulled itself out of the fire and become
Amazingly so.
Amazing what you can do when you have billions of dollars in the bank.
Yeah, but even
That's all you need.
there are a lot of
All you need
companies.
is cash. Didn't the Beatles sing that?
No, that was the Ruddles. Okay. Once around the table and we'll wrap this one up. Let's start with Tina.
Oh, no. Once around the table, starting with Tina. Okay. I've enjoyed this show. You know, I'm bad at the wrap up. No.
It's not a wrap up. It's like if there's something that I really wanted to talk about that.
Remember, I've got like a list of those things, but they're
Well,
scrapped.
name one. We
I
named two,
don't
and we
know.
won't do either. Okay, so that's a Brent Leary response. So Brent,
Tell us a little bit about Paisley Park, Brent.
Well, I mean, it's one of those places where your dreams can come true.
Oh, man. Look
is
at that.
do they give out that guitar? Do they sell that guitar or a version of it?
No. You literally he has 117 guitars there. And we were just very fortunate that the person that I guess manages the guitars was there that day, that they allowed each of us to hold this one guitar and get a picture with it.
Wow.
Did they charge you for the picture, or did you take it yourself?
No, you gave them your camera, your phone, and they took it for you. And
Well, you have to post it. You have to post it.
it's all that's all. It's on Facebook. It's been there for a while.
I didn't get a notification. I should have. Jeez.
Well,
So-
It's all about
That's
notifications.
That's cool. They had the motorcycle from Purple Rain was in there. You couldn't take any pictures. The only place you could take pictures on the sound stage at the very end. He literally had a sound stage that 1,500 people could be in. So he would do concerts in his own studio, and then there's a little club lounge area on the other side of that. But no, it was cool. He had three full production studios. His personal studio, which nobody could go in, he had an 80-channel mixing board in there. I know you guys know about me. That's ridiculous. He had a 48 channel that was there for other people that he had to have respect to allow them to go into that studio and do their stuff. Like people like a Stevie Wonder, or he would invite them and they would be. But then he said, I just want a studio just for me, and they wouldn't even let you. They wouldn't even let you in that one. You could go into the other ones. They would not. And it looks like literally, if he were still alive, he could walk in there today and just sit down and go to work, because everything is plugged in, tuned up. It's amazing what kind of.
Are you sure? Are you sure he's not in there?
Yeah, we're sure.
With Elvis,
there is no sound. That's a lot like what Hendrix did his entire career. He just was constantly recording.
He recorded everything. They said he literally recorded audio and video, and then they started playing us stuff that you can't even see on YouTube. It is pretty amazing. So it was an awesome experience. I'm really glad I did it. And I will say this: the tour guide, he looked at me and said, "Yeah, you're the one." I was like, what are you talking about? Yeah, you're the one that actually do my job if I weren't doing it. Like, yeah.
How long was the tour? How
3
long was it?
hours.
Wow.
Yeah,
great.
3 hours. It was awesome.
I think Steve could do the Abbey Road tour as well.
Hell no, I've never been inside Abbey Road. I've been outside it.
Yeah, but you'd feel like a cat with a milk if you got inside.
I could do the Sun Studio
mean,
tour because it's like one
People
room.
who
It's-
are collectors of information, it's an expertise, but it's not particularly relevant to. I mean, the people in that I've seen with Brent having a pipeline via instant message, the people that worked with Prince, they can go on and on for hours, and it's all amazingly interesting. It's like a living narrative that transcends each of their individual jobs, what they do now, everything. They talk about it in a way which is both personal and also deeply technical at a level that I've just never seen anything like it. And Abbey Road is definitely. I mean, there's a guy who I know, Nile Rodgers, who is hired as that guy that Brent is talking about for Abbey Road. I don't know if he's
Yeah, he lives here now. He
yeah.
lives in London. Yeah.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
And there are another guy is Giles Martin, who is George Martin's son, who has done all the remixes of the Beatle products. And I haven't dumped it into the chat yet, but there's an interview with him where he talks about he's doing what he's done with the Beatles now with Pet Sounds, the
Beach Boys.
The Brian Wilson masterpiece.
There is a guy named Dick Porter who does that tour for Abbey Road, who's just this crazy brilliant guy who knows all the ins and outs and all the great stories. These guys are like dynamite.
I want to know, Brent, is that camera behind your left side a Z cam?
I was wondering.
No,
Is that a black? Is that a black?
that is the Lumix BS1H box camera.
Oh, yeah.
Frame box camera.
Hmm.
But you know what? I just got a notification that my new camera, the one I ordered back in January, is coming tomorrow.
Another
is it?
piece of tech gear.
It's another Panasonic, but I don't know how many. You're probably not all that familiar with Panasonic. They're great image cameras, but they've done a terrible job with autofocus because they use a certain contrast autofocus. Finally, they created these new cameras with kind of the industry standard phase detect, which does a much better job with being able to stay locked in on your face, whether you're moving or you put something in front and it jumps. So they got these new ones that have the new phase detect auto detect system, autofocus. And
Whatever you're using now is good.
well, this is just I think Keith has this too. It's just the webcam in my studio display.
That's what I'm using as well today.
Looks good. Looks good.
But I've got the new Sony ZV-E1 that does stage manager. It keeps you in frame. It's super good.
Cool.
Really, really good.
Okay, Dennis, last thoughts.
I was just reading something by Paul Krugman from his newsletter. And one thing we didn't get into that might be very useful is that, we talked a lot about ChatGPT and AI and revolutions that like what we're sort of iterating towards and we're trying to figure out don't happen because of one thing. You know, the steam engine required coal and iron and rails and quite a bit of other things, and they were self-reinforcing. So my question for some future time is what happens when we start combining things like AI and the apparent rise and settling in of working from home? People aren't going to be going back to the cities anytime soon. I mean, about 50% occupancy is what major cities have, and people may go into the office twice a week, or maybe they won't go in at all. I think there's a place for AI to act as some kind of glue in the workforce. I don't know how or what. I mean, that's part of being an early adopter, but I think it'd be an interesting conversation sometime.
Yeah, it's interesting that I agree with you. I think that we're not going back to the office, period. And what the unification of the model that incorporates hybrid is probably going to be the new normal. So is AI part of that? I think totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Keith's got to run, and so we're going to wrap this up with. Did you have any last thoughts, Keith?
Well, just on that, I've mentioned this company before called Cadence with a K, run by a guy called Dan Bladen, and I had dinner with him recently, and we were debating. He's the operating system for hybrid work. He kind of manages office spaces, but also team meetings outside of office. And we had a big debate. He wanted to put AI into the product, and I said I couldn't see an immediate use case for it. And that's kind of an ongoing discussion. Obviously, whether a desk's available and things like that, and where team members are, that doesn't really need AI. So then you kind of wonder, well, where does the AI play a role? I think that's a good conversation.
Yeah.
Something that's monitoring and obliterating the distinction between physical presence and digital presence is what we're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the model, right? It's the large language model.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's funny because large language models, it's one of my team members yesterday said, does signal rank hallucinate? And we're not a large language model.
No, but you do, Keith. So
well,
we're in trouble.
I was 18 years old. It's like, bring it on.
That's hallucinogenics.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your point?
Okay.
Okay.
Hold it. You left me out.
I
Steve,
didn't.
You did.
You started the show.
Yeah, but I have an ending.
I've got to leave you guys, so I'm going to jump.
See you, Keith.
Lovely to see you guys.
See ya.
Just a couple of quick things. One is it's the 40th anniversary of CNN. And yesterday they had this gigantic get together for a photograph at the CNN Center in Atlanta. And it just made me, I'm not going to go off on this, but it just made me think about what CNN was in the beginning and what it's become now and how far down the rabbit hole it's gone. That's one thing. The other thing is that it's also an anniversary of MTV, and on the anniversary of MTV, they eliminated the news department completely from MTV, which I find not like the news department.
What's that friend of yours, Dave?
Dave Cerolnik?
Yes.
Yeah. But it was it was Doug Herzog and Dave Cerolnik who started the MTV News Group, and they were pretty important in the beginning, I thought that as part of sort of a cultural phenomenon, it was an amazing thing. It's just horrible to see that gone. And the last thing is, but what were you saying?
Just quickly, it's ironic that that's the last thing to go, because the first thing to go from MTV was actually music videos.
Music videos gone.
Last time I saw a music video on MTV.
Yeah. I mean, it's now MTV, of course, is doing some incredible stuff with the MTV studios. Some of their shows, I believe Yellowstone is an MTV Studios production. So
really,
I think it is. There's some really incredible things. If you watch the beginning of it, you'll see their logo come up. And the final thing is this company called Positive Grid. This is actually an amplifier for guitars that is controlled by your phone, which has thousands of amplifiers and tones and things that it can do. It's unbelievable. This thing that you can carry around, plug your guitar into, is spectacular. I don't think any of you would care, but it's also a Bluetooth speaker so you can send your music to it, but you can jam with it. You can play background tracks with it. You can play any piece of music against it and then play against it. And you can use it as the direct line input to your computer so that you can operate. This is like about $150 US. It's crazy cool. And it is just unbelievable. I can't just check it out. It's called the Positive Grid Spark Go. It's just amazing. That's it. I got nothing else.
Okay, I gotta run. I'm getting leg cramps here. So I'll thanks to everybody who showed up and especially those who didn't. We'll see you again next time. Bye.
So long.
Chow mein.
I'm out.